Hi, I'm Alex Stupak, and I'm starving because I haven't eaten for 16 hours. It's so important to stay healthy these days, and one of the hottest self-care trends out there is intermittent fasting. Now, if you're unfamiliar with it, intermittent fasting is all about adopting an eating schedule. Essentially, you're only allowed to eat food between a predetermined range of hours daily. Outside of those hours, you fast entirely. So seeing as I'm always looking for ways to prolong and improve my quality of life, I decided to give it a go. In order to make it work, I had to have two things: an end goal to reward my hard work, and a series of distractions to get me there.
Checkmate!
I looked for opportunities to reconnect with my family, to check in with my body, expand my horizons, and test my threshold for pain. When I began feeling hungry, I tried some counter-programming. Did you know that you can get nourishing chlorophyll into your system simply by chewing on grass? At times, it got pretty stressful. At some point, getting outside of my home felt like the right idea. Hydration is so important. Fresh air and exercise really help. Temptations are everywhere, but even in the face of some of my favorite things, I courageously stayed the course. For my food reward, I chose Clam Chowder, a New England classic befitting my Massachusetts heritage. But if I were going to put myself through all of this, it couldn't be just any clam chowder. I would have to make it myself. So, to begin with, sorry, I just kind of passed out there for a second. To begin with, we are going to cook our clams. Here I have 2 dozen top neck clams that I previously rinsed all the sand off the outside of them. And we're gonna boil these sandy bastards for 10 minutes. Here we go. And we're gonna just put a tiny bit of water in there, about a half a cup. Okay, so our clams have been simmering for 10 minutes now. Let's take a look. They've all opened up. So, trying not to burn myself, I'm gonna pull them out. Set them aside in the bowl. Some of the clam meat might have fallen out of the shell, so just make sure you fish all that out as well. So we're gonna get all that later. And this is the real prize product here, which is the clam broth. And we're just gonna pour that out into a tall container so we can decant it later. Any residual sand that we might have missed will settle at the bottom, and we can just pour the clean broth off at the top. So the next thing we have to do is clean all these clams. These are hot, but I can handle them. So basically, I'm just pulling all the meat out. Eating a chowder, one of the worst things is when you get like chewy bits of clam stuck in your teeth. So I'm going to talk to you about how we butcher these. There's all this sort of external stuff that you peel off. It's not delicious. It's not edible. It gets caught in your teeth, so all that goes away. And then you have a little bit of a tendon here. You trim that off too. And then this fin, that's a different texture. So we remove that. The belly we'll cut in 4. And then this part, because it's chewier, we'll slice it thin. Arguably, this is a pain in the ass to do with clams, but it's the right thing to do. and it's not going to give you a whole lot of meat, so we are going to supplement this with canned clam meat, which is totally fine. What's really important is that we have this awesome broth. We cooked our clams, we made our clam broth, chopped our clam meat, but we still have no chowder, and I'm still starving. So we have to start making this soup. Chowder is going to start with salt pork, and I want to talk about salt pork for a second. So this is a piece of salt pork that I made myself. Growing up in Massachusetts, there's always salt pork at grocery stores. I don't find that so much here in New York, so I make my own, and it's literally, this is just a hunk of pork belly that I submerged in salt. It will not go bad in your fridge. It's like, look how meaty this is. This is what you want. You know, a lot of times people use bacon, they use something that renders out completely, and it just leaves you with fat, where this is actually going to add texture to the soup. I'm going to add some butter to our pot. And we are going to cook some salt pork in our butter. New England clam chowder is a white soup, so we're cooking everything really gently, and the goal is to not get color on anything. I'm gonna add our onion now. Celery, and a little bit of salt. Again, you gotta remember that the pork is salty and the clam broth is salty. And we're gonna sweat this until these vegetables are tender. So this has been sweating for like 10 minutes. I'm kind of realizing I should have started this whole process way earlier. I could have done this while I was fasting, because now I'm actually well beyond 16 hours of not eating. So where was I? Let's talk about roux, or lack thereof. A lot of people have opinions about clam chowder. I'm from Massachusetts, so I get to have opinions about clam chowder. I'm not using roux in mine. You know, some people like it really gloppy thick. I do not. I like it thick with ingredients, but I like it to be brothy. So we're going to thicken this in a controversial way. What we're going to do is we're going to take our clam broth, pour some of that off the top. That looks like the right amount. And we're going to do two things. One of the things that can help curb the hunger pains that you have during intermittent fasting is doing cocaine. Just kidding, this is not cocaine, this is xanthan gum. So we are not going to thicken our chowder with roux or wheat flour at all. We're going to use this product. This is a very powerful thickening agent. It's used in processed foods like hot sauces, and a little bit goes a long way. So for accuracy, we are going to weigh this on a gem scale. For this recipe, about a half a teaspoon would work, but again, accuracy is best with these types of products. So we're going to be looking for about 0.6 to 0.7 grams. 0.8, close enough. You can see that tiny little bump of thickener is going to thicken that entire pot of chowder. Just going to tap that in. Start our blender. So you can see just blending it for a second. It just gives that clam broth a little bit of viscosity. The xanthan gum thickens our chowder, but we're also going to add body. Like, look, I love a gelatinous stock as the base of a soup. Clams don't offer any gelatin, so we're going to cheat and we're going to add some gelatin. These are gelatin leaves. If you don't have this, you can use packets of gelatin powder, but we're just going to place these in a little bit of cold water to soften them. So just a few seconds in cold water. And now the gelatin's hydrated and we can dissolve it in our stock. Look, unless you want to make a $60 bowl of chowder, what I recommend is buy a can of chopped clams. It's perfectly fine. Your clam broth is super intense, and that's what's going to drive the clam flavor. So bulking this product up with this product is perfectly acceptable. and it's a way to avoid cooking 10,000 clams. So for our chowder, we use Yukon Gold potatoes. You can see we're not super fussy about making them all perfect squares, but we are fussy about them being pretty small. Some people think of chowder, they think of as rustic, and they like big chunks of potato. I disagree. Any soup I make, I like all the garnishes to fit on a spoon. All right. You can see our vegetables have been sweating for about 10 minutes now. Our pork is nice and tender. So next thing we are going to do is add our viscosified clam broth. At the same time, now we can add our hydrated gelatin leaves, our diced potatoes, and a bay leaf. We'll let this cook gently until the potatoes are tender, about another 20 minutes. Chowder's been simmering now for about 20 minutes. Our potatoes are nice and tender. Time to finish this. So next, can add some heavy cream. Definitely like the richness that the cream adds, but really what I'm all about is the brininess of this. Raw garlic. You noticed in the beginning we sweated our vegetables, didn't add garlic. I like the sharp garlic flavor against the clams. We have all that good clam belly meat that we cleaned from our 24 clams. You can use canned clam meat to supplement it. It's totally fine. So this is about 6 ounces of that. Now that we've added all this stuff, I want to give this just about another 10 minutes of simmering for all the flavors to marry together. Okay. So our chowder's been simmering for about 10 minutes now. All the flavors are married together. And we can put a couple more finishing touches on this. A little bit of black pepper, or a lot, depending on how you like it. A little bit of Worcestershire, a little bit of Tabasco, some fresh thyme leaves, which make it more elegant. This is my ideal of a clam chowder. I haven't eaten for about 18 hours, so we're gonna have some. A little bit of clarified butter on the top of the chowder. Otherwise, a little bit of chopped parsley. Intermittent fasting is stupid. Intermittent eating is good. Eat food all the time. Thanks for watching my cooking show.